Welcome back to another live edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary and Alec Crouthamel. Sick of seeing us yet? Hope not. Another commitment a few hours after we stopped the first recording, this time from a defensive end out of Toledo named Malachi Davis. He is a bit of a surprise because he wasn't a player we even knew, frankly, was on campus. But he is a 6'4", 255-pound edge rusher who's got 1 year of eligibility. We'll get into what he brings as a player, how that commitment came together. We have some news we could finally talk about, some news we've known about for 3 days now and had to quietly sit here and act like it wasn't something that we were just dying to talk about. Dylan Lonergan, the quarterback out of Boston College, was on campus, and we'll talk about where things stand with him and Rutgers. We'll talk about two big visits that are on the horizon in a wide receiver and a defensive tackle. Get into those names and more, and also give you an update on where things stand with some of the players currently on campus. But before we get into any of that, this podcast is once again brought to you by FanDuel. If you got in on some of the bets earlier, you hit most of them. I bet I like tonight, if you're watching live, I like the Kenny Gainwell over in yardage, in receiving yardage. And I also, as a homer, I like the Eagles to cover -3 next weekend over the beaten and battered San Francisco 49ers. But
yeah, you're welcome for that.
Yeah. Alec, you guys soften them up. We'll take care of the rest.
But before we go any further, I'll give you one more bet for tomorrow night. Oregon -6.5 seems like a steal, kind of.
Yeah.
It opened at 4, surprisingly though.
I don't know. Oregon has not been good at all this year. It's a weird one. It's definitely a weird line. I don't know if I would touch it.
And for those who aren't aware, Rutgers basketball plays Oregon tomorrow night, not the Oregon Indiana game.
Yeah,
clear.
Correct.
So let's talk about Malachi Davis. So he was a guy that I saw that the staff started following when he entered the portal. He has been in the portal for a couple weeks now. Committed to Rutgers, obviously today. He's listed at 6'4", 255 pounds, 1 year of eligibility. This past season, he had an 83.3 PFF grade. I think a lot of people expected him to end up at Syracuse for a couple reasons. One, his defensive coordinator was previously at Toledo, is now at Syracuse. He was also committed to Syracuse out of high school before he decommitted and ended up at Toledo. So to land him is definitely a feather in the staff's cap because he's the kind of guy that I think is going to be a much better fit personally than Ryan Davis would have been. And that's not to say Ryan Davis also can't end up here, but I feel better about the defensive line being, I wouldn't say anchored by Malachi Davis, but I think he is a very useful piece. He's not going to be a 10-sack guy by any means, but he is the kind of player who you can rely on to give you meaningful snaps, I'll say. Rich, talk about how this whole situation came together and how he snuck past us in terms of not knowing he was on campus.
Yeah, so we've heard rumors about several kids on campus today. We kind of hinted at it before, but we weren't really able to reveal most of them. And we'll get to a lot of them later between a quarterback, a wide receiver. We're still doing a little bit of digging. There rumored was a linebacker on campus as well, whether that's the edge rusher linebacker or this linebacker. You'll wait and see. You'll hear first on the round table. But yeah, this one kind of similar to a couple others. There's always that one that sneaks on campus, like Ryan Davis yesterday snuck on campus. We didn't know about it until today, or no, we knew about it yesterday after it came out. What do you call it? So yeah, he got on campus. Interesting kid, Toledo, like you said. I mean, Toledo had one of the best defenses in the nation too. Like I think top 3, top 4, or something like that. And that's why we were kind of all on the Vince Karras train. We're like, oh, dude, get that guy ASAP, get it done. But this is a big win for the sole fact that they beat out Syracuse, who was expected to host them tomorrow. They beat out Nebraska, who was expected to host them later this week. And they beat out Michigan State, who has that new coach juice on the recruiting trail, and that always plays a factor. But yeah, I mean, you're beating out Big Ten schools. You're beating out a local rivalry, whatever you want to call it still. And he beat out a school that had he was formerly committed to, like you said before, and also has his defensive coordinator as their defensive coordinator now. So it's just a very big win for Rutgers. Now, I'm going to go with what you said. I don't think he's going to get 10.5 sacks on the year. Provide solid edge rushers, actually contain for a change, and do just about anything that everyone but Eric O'Neal could do on this year's team. That would be great.
I believe one of our colleagues also mentioned that Minnesota had some interest, or am I mixing them up with someone else? Yeah, Minnesota did have interest.
There's
okay.
2 guys that Minnesota had interest in, and we'll talk about the one defensive tackle later, and also him.
Yeah, to go through some of his stats on the year. So Malachi Davis, this season, he had 36 tackles. 36 sacks would have been nice. 9.5 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks. He had 36 total pressures, 13 QB hits, 16 hurries, a forced fumble. He had a pass rush grade of 86.1. He had a run defense grade of 70.0. And he played 442 snaps on the year. We do have some clips that I wanted to throw up here on screen of his play and some of his sacks from this past season. If we can, if you have that together, Rich. If not, we can keep shooting the you know what about Malachi.
Already got it.
Nice.
Where's the play button here? Is it hidden?
Right in the middle.
Yeah. That's too loud.
No, you're good. So it looks like you lined up interior on the interior there.
I'll go back real quick because I even missed it.
No, it was a stunt. Sorry.
Is wrapped up, sacked. Malachi Davis has lived in the backfield today.
Yeah, that was his best game of the season. I think he had 2 sacks and 8 pressures in the Western Michigan game. Western Michigan, by the way, ended up winning the MAC championship this year.
This defensive line, though, is ridiculous. There's multiple guys in the backfield every time.
Yeah.
But he just swings around, beats his defender, and then gets to the quarterback.
And technically, Power 4 competition. Power 5.
Did he? I couldn't quite tell. Did he line up on the inside on that one as well? On that rep?
No, he's on the outside. It was another stunt.
Oh,
yeah, that makes sense. It's just a little delayed, but
or maybe he did. Oh, yeah, he did. Sorry.
He might have,
No, yeah, that is him. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought they might have had a three-man front there.
So maybe they can kind of work him like Bradley Weaver, where they put him inside for some of their different packages, and he was actually he was fairly serviceable when they did line him up on the inside. So
this is an important distinction that I'm glad somebody asked. Why hasn't Rutgers announced the Malachi Davis commitment on their social media channels yet?
So I can actually answer that one. Technically, they're not supposed to, like, if Rutgers wants to announce, there's like a weird rule where you have to wait a day until their visit's over. Some kids get really giddy. Some agents get super giddy, and they just start telling everybody. They're like, yeah, he committed. He's on the visit right now. Like, oh, and it's like, okay, thanks. Cool. I'm going to go make a graphic real quick. I'll be right back. So I don't think he technically announced. He collabed with us on Instagram, and that was his announcement, quote unquote. I don't even think he's on Twitter. I mean, he's on Twitter, but I don't think he uses it that often because he hasn't tweeted out anything. He hasn't retweeted anything. So that's basically the reason. He's still on the visit too. Like, technically he hasn't signed, quote unquote, because they signed that Big Ten tender now. But he can't do that until, I believe, tomorrow because his visit ends today. So maybe it's either going to be tomorrow or it's going to be Tuesday. But the fact that you're able to get it done before he visits anywhere else is huge.
Yeah, because he was supposed to go right from Rutgers to Syracuse, and I doubt that happens now, right?
Yeah, I'd be shocked if that one happened. You're not committing if you're you're not staying committed if you're visiting elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's the golden rule for Shiana with committed recruits. Like you're committed, or you're not committed.
Yeah, so you'll see that soon though.
What are some additional nuggets about him that we haven't talked about yet?
I mean, the fact that I know people see a Mac guy and they kind of like, what are we doing here? But I mean, the Sun Belt, like was last year, and that was Eric O'Neal, and he was by far your best edge rusher in the past couple of years. Now, mind you, there's caveats there. Like Aaron Lewis was hurt for a couple of years. Wesley Bailey, he was hurt and then quit. But I hate that Eric O'Neal gets so much hate because he was pretty productive. He just had no one else on that defensive line that could do absolutely anything. The defensive tackles are getting shoved 5-6 yards down the field. The other edge rusher is Bradley Weaver. When he's in the game, he's doing something stupid. And if he's not hurt before the game, he's had so many things he was working through too. They just didn't have any other productivity. So, I mean, now this is a nice piece, but you need several more defensive tackles, another edge rusher, if not 2 more edge rushers, just to complete this defensive line this offseason.
Yeah, no, they're certainly not going to be done. I think you probably need 2 more edge rushers, at least 2 to 3 more defensive tackles. But I think he's a great start. I don't think he is going to be I wouldn't say a difference maker, but he's not going to be like, he wouldn't lead a good defensive line in the Big Ten in sacks, I'll say. He might lead Rutgers in sacks, but he wouldn't lead like Minnesota in sacks. So,
I mean, had a preferred walk-on leading the team in sacks last year.
He's a good player, though. I don't want to make it sound like I'm down on him. He is a good player, but he's just like, he's the kind of guy who's just like solid at everything. He doesn't have like a standout trait that really makes you kind of go, wow. But he's a physically very developed, savvy veteran presence that will be much needed on this young defensive line.
I think he has length too. Like it's hard to tell because like these tapes are smack, so it's like hard to see it on ESPN Plus because we all know like from the past it's very shitty camera angles, it's very shitty camera work. But he does look like he's a lengthy edge rusher too, and it's something they kind of lacked over the years. Like even Eric O'Neal, like he was your best edge rusher. He had no length whatsoever. Hell, I don't even think he was 6 foot tall, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think it's good size, it's productivity, and that's all you can really ask for. I mean, I think he has a 17.8% pass rush rate this season at Toledo. Like, oh yeah, he played on the CW network at one point. Like these clips are. Shout out to Scooter from the Discord, by the way, for the clips, but it is just they're rough camera work.
Yeah.
Pass rush win rate. Sorry, I should have clarified that. But.
Let's talk about this. So the next guy we'll discuss, we'll save Dylan Lonergan for the end, quarterback stuff. So that's the thing everybody wants to hear about. That's
juicy.
That's the tease of the evening.
We got to make you earn it.
Yeah, you gotta stick with us through the end to hear about him. Let's talk about Rondo Porter though. So Rondo Porter is a guy we found out about. Was it today? All these days blend together.
Yes,
it was legit. Like right when we signed off this morning.
Okay. Yeah. So we got word that he would be visiting. Rondo Porter is actually a guy that I kind of love his tape. Rondo Porter is listed at 6 feet tall, 295 pounds. This will be his 4th or 5th school in 4 or 5 years. So he started out at Lonergan, then he transferred to Newberry, where he redshirted. Then he transferred to South Carolina in 2024, and then he transferred to Appalachian State for this past season. He's got 1 year of eligibility left. He's originally from Columbia, South Carolina. He went to Heathwood Hall High School in Columbia. He graded out really well, a 79.1 grade, which is 61st out of 911 DTs, 81.0 run grade, 74.9 pass rush grade. He was ranked 24th amongst defensive tackles in the FBS in pressures with 27, and he was 17th amongst defensive tackles in hurries with 22. He had 43 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 4 pass deflections on the season, and we're going to pop on his film here now. But how did Rutgers get involved here, Rich?
Honestly, I haven't heard the background yet, but I know he's on campus right now. Do you want me to pop up this? I have it in the background.
If you got it ready, I got it ready too. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Just pop it up real quick. Ignore all the Stranger Things videos over here. I've been trying to read and learn and all that. But again, mind you, this tape, it's Appalachian State. It's not great. So,
but still, he is very, very quick off the ball, and he's able to penetrate with ease against the opponents he's going against.
I love his hands more than anything. Like, that was the biggest thing I told you guys when we first watched his tape. I was like, damn, like, he is able to do a lot of things at that nose spot. He's a little smaller, reminds me a lot of Julius Turner type. I know people, see, Marosi said it, and Thomas said it, and Marosi said it, whoever. I do think he's kind of like that cock nose type. Line him up against the center, that little tilted nose, and just let him go to work. He is very interesting, though. Like, the size is concerning a little bit, but Julius Turner worked in the Big Ten, so like you can't really say it's not going to work. And he's just able to get in that backfield almost every time, like with ease. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like his punch as well, kind of like what you mentioned, Richie, with his hands. I like how he's able to kind of get off of blockers pretty quickly. He can make that push into the backfield. So this would be an interesting one. And yeah, the size is a little bit concerning, especially in the Big Ten. But he's quick off the line, so I definitely think there's something to like. And he's kind of like Malachi Davis, where that like if he is if he's like the centerpiece of like the D tackle class or the defensive end class, whatever that you're going to bring in, maybe a little bit worrying. But if he can be another one of those guys that you can kind of put together and rotate in a bunch of different guys with different skill sets, I think he could. I think he could be a solid addition.
He's really good at being able to disengage with the lineman too, and then create the stop, I should say.
Yeah. On that last play, he was able to still get penetration and affect the play despite getting double teamed as well.
Yeah, just keep watching it over and over again. The hands are phenomenal. Like, even that one, like, he made the right guard or left guard just look stupid and silly. Like, shoves this left guard out of the play.
Long arm in there.
That's
impressive for a guy his size to still be able to effectively long arm on the interior too. And I don't know what the measurables of that guard he was going against were, but
not to mention,
really excited about him.
His best game this season came against a college football playoff team in James Madison.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I like this a lot. Now, ideally, he becomes an addition. It's not 100% going to happen, of course. We never know, but I do have a little bit of confidence in Rutgers pushing and landing this one if they want.
Does he have any other visits lined up? Do you know?
Let me double check. I don't think he did, but I swore we knew someone else was after him. I know Minnesota was after him, who we have referenced before. There was two others, and I can't remember who it was. I think I posted it on the round table, so I'll have to double check on that. But I'm a big fan of this one. Again, Alex said it. I don't think he's a centerpiece of a defensive line class, but I think he's a starting defensive tackle, putting him next to Doug Blue Eli, and there's your size in the middle. That's going to stuff the run.
This is an interesting question. Wrestling background ? Which, I mean, a couple of people have said now that was one of the first things that kind of stuck out to me watching him. He seems like a guy who had a lot of wrestling, but from looking him up, it doesn't look like it's not included in any of his player bios that he was a wrestler, but he definitely has that kind of like wrestling type build and play style. So, yeah.
Also, he had 4 pass breakups as a defensive tackle, a short, like, stubby defensive tackle. Like, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he reminds me like a sawed-off shotgun in the interior.
Yeah, he was also so he did walk on at South Carolina in 24, but he was defensive scout team player of the year.
His brother also played. His name's Ronnie Porter on South Carolina. So maybe that's how he got connected there.
Yeah, I'm seeing that right now. It's interesting. Maybe a Dino and Ethan type situation that just ended up working out a lot in the walk-on's favor.
Yeah.
So, interesting kid, though.
Let's talk about the the next player other than Lonergan, is he on campus right now, the receiver?
Yes. Braden. No. Yeah. Braden.
Yeah.
Pegan.
Braden
Pegan, I think it is.
I think it's Pegan. Pegan. Utah State wide receiver.
Mhm.
Very productive player this past season for the what do they call themselves?
The Aggies.
Yes.
The Aggies, yeah. So Braden Pegan, he's got 1 year of eligibility left. He's listed at 6'4", like 200 and how many pounds? Like my system.
I think it was 221, 223, around one of those two. I don't remember which one, but yeah, I forget which one.
Again, terrible podcasting. You normally cut this out, but here we are. But on the season, he had 60 receptions for 926 yards. That's 15.4 yards per reception, 5 touchdowns. He also had another touchdown on the ground. I think he would be a suitable replacement. I was kind of surprised that I'm not surprised they're going after him now that Ian Strong has left, but I think he would be like kind of I think a Temu version of Ian Strong isn't quite fair, but he is the archetype of an Ian Strong, of a big-bodied outside receiver, and we could pop up his clips as well. I have that if you need me to share the screen here.
Yeah, I do not have that one, so
Right,
go for that.
You.
See, this is how you really judge players.
That's the real analysis that we are doing here.
And we're lacking. We're not putting what do you call it? College football grades.
Gets it in there to Pegan, a good ball.
Making tough catches at the catch point.
Deep ball, wide open and caught.
Able to catch track balls well.
It is a free play. Ball's rolling out. 3rd and 9. Why not take a shot downfield? Looking for Boyd.
Like, that is an incredible catch. Getting interfered with one-handed.
Utah State trying to take advantage in zone. It's Braden.
And that's against Texas A&M there. This is against Vandy here.
Territory ran up like he was.
He had 2 touchdowns in the A&M game, actually, as we're seeing the other one.
Mm-hmm.
San Jose State. From the pistol, they throw, and it's the post, and it's caught for a touchdown. It's Braden Pegan.
On to UCLA, New Mexico. That's just the offensive starters. Deep ball drops right into the lap of Pegan.
I guess he's Pegan.
I would assume the broadcasters would know better than us.
Yeah.
23.
He's got some easy long speed to him, too.
Short and Pegan turned.
Just a wonderful year this year. 2nd and 10, rolling, throwing, on the money, caught by
the Aggies with 5 different players.
But he was just at Wisconsin on his last visit. He came right from Wisconsin to Rutgers, and it was a bit of a surprise that he didn't end up committing to Wisconsin.
That's nice. Wow.
Hi, Dan O'Sullivan here for Home Field.
If you use Home Field, use promo code Rutgers Rivals, gets a little discount for you. We'll plug.
Yeah, are we allowed to talk about the connection there, Rich?
Yeah, without a doubt. So he was at Wisconsin. There was a really the feeling among everyone that I've talked to was he was going to go to Wisconsin. He was high school teammates with Colton Joseph, who's one of the top quarterbacks in the portal that went to Wisconsin.
Just committed to Wisconsin.
Just committed to Wisconsin earlier today. He's an Old Dominion kid. The feeling was that they were going to land the 2 of them. And everyone that we talked to now, obviously we can only hint at so many things, and we kind of hinted at it earlier this morning before it was even revealed that it was public. But Rutgers was pushing to get him on campus. They were able to do so immediately following the Wisconsin visit, which is huge because there was a feeling that Wisconsin wasn't going to let him leave without committing. Now he has Big Ten. Oh, I shouldn't say Big Ten. He has Pac-12 ties because he was at UCLA for 2 years. Didn't really do a whole lot there. Mostly a special teamer. Goes to for 3 years. He was a red shirt, and then he had 1 catch over 2 seasons, and then goes to Utah State this past offseason, and then just lights it up completely. He's a very talented receiver. I think he's number 40 something in the receiver rankings for the portal right now. So and the build itself kind of just mimics, like you said, it mimics the build of Ian Strong. Puts a guy on that other side next to KJ Duff or across from KJ Duff. and just gives you another top receiver. I mean, 900 plus yards, 60 catches, only 5 touchdowns, I believe it was. Also had a rushing touchdown. So like Mike said before, there's a little bit of speed there. Will Rutgers use it in that aspect as rushing for a wide receiver? Probably not, because they DT Sheffield and barely did it. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, Rutgers feels eerily confident here. I'm not going to say they're definitely going to get him, but again, the feeling was yesterday that he was going to be a Wisconsin Badger. The feeling is today that Rutgers is starting to swing the momentum a little bit. We'll have to just kind of wait and see what where it ends up playing out.
Yeah, he's interesting because oh, by the way, yeah, I saw that I saw that. So it turns out the account that tweeted that, I believe it's one of those like Scott Hughes type parodies where they just pretend that they're a like real person and they just like tweet fake stuff and they have like the most vague Twitter bio of all time.
Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of them do it to try to get it right before anyone else, because there was a feeling it was going to happen. You tweet it out first and you're like, oh, look, I had it. In reality,
yeah, exactly. But I don't think I don't think that's I don't think that's real. I don't think it's a real like person or reporter or whatever. But yeah, anyways, I think I do think that there's something there with you know, he seems kind of similar to Ian Strong, kind of a similar route tree to him as well, at least for what we've seen in the 90-second highlight that we saw. Based on the fact that they run a lot of deep routes for him, a lot of in breakers where he can use his footwork, and he has some solid like hand work as well. Immediately off the break, if he gets pressed up, on some of those slants and whatever. So, yeah, I think this would be a solid addition to be like a number 2 guy, and it also adds some insulation not only to KJ Duff, but if they do end up going the route of having one of those rising younger guys take over, in the third wide receiver spot in the slot, it kind of adds some insulation for them as well, because there's not as much pressure on them to immediately contribute.
I also don't know much about Utah State whatsoever, but their quarterback looked pretty good in those tapes. Or that tape.
Yeah, they've been a largely like very, very solid program for a while now.
I didn't realize Bronco Mendenhall, head coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was his first year there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think he took a few years off after Virginia let him go, and he wanted to get back into coaching. And he spent most of his career out in the West, so made sense. But the player he might have him throwing the ball to him next year is the guy we've been desperately hoping to discuss with you guys.
One more thing before we finally let the people hear the scoop on Dylan Lonergan. This doesn't really have much to do with Pagan. I just thought it was really funny. I was looking through Twitter to check out what someone said about him. And our fellow Wisconsin brethren, one of the Wisconsin insiders for their On3 site, Evan Flood, posted him and Steve Wiltfong had a portal scoop for one of their guys. I don't want to say who because that's their content, but someone in the replies said, at Grok, what is this article about? And then Grok responded with, shares Steve Wiltfong's scoop predicting that 4-star wide receiver Braden Pegan will transfer from Utah State to the Wisconsin Badgers, which is not that is not correct.
Yeah.
So don't use Grok ever. It's stupid and dumb, and yeah.
I
just
saw
put that out there.
It's funny anytime someone's just like, Grok, what mean? Grok, what mean? Just like anyway. Let's talk about Dylan Lonergan. He was on campus from, I believe, the 2nd to this morning, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, 2nd or 3rd, I forget what it was. One of those 2 days.
So let's do a deep dive on who Dylan Lonergan is before we get into how he's connected with Rutgers. So Dylan Lonergan started his college career out at Alabama. He was in one of the final classes for Alabama in the Nick Saban era. He spent 2 years there, redshirted 1 year, and spent his redshirt freshman season as a backup. He got a handful of snaps, not a whole lot of playing time. But ultimately, I think he saw the writing on the wall when Galen DeBoer got there. He decided to transfer, ends up at Boston College, starts there this year, and he struggled or he didn't struggle. The team struggled through a 2-10 season. He got banged up a bit. I think he started 10 of the 12 games. He exited 2 others with injury, but obviously not the best season in Chestnut Hills. I think Chestnut Hill.
Yeah,
Is that
you're right.
So unfortunately, he decided, or fortunately for us, but unfortunately things didn't go well. So he decided to leave. I think he was looking for some assurances from Bill O'Brien, and Bill O'Brien wasn't really willing to give him those. And they ended up just landing Saginaw Valley State's quarterback, a D2 guy. So I think the writing on the wall there is pretty clear. Boston College is a bit of a shit show. So then how did he end up here? So Dylan Lonergan was recruited by Kirk Soraka at Penn State during that cycle. Dylan Lonergan's dad played for Penn State, and I'll stop it there because the rest of this really isn't my scoop. Rich, talk a little bit more about how Dylan Lonergan and Rutgers kind of connected.
So Dylan Lonergan, Georgia native, very, very talented high school recruit, number 162 in the country for the 2023 class. Yeah, 2023 class. No, 2022 class, right? 23? No, 23. I don't know.
Hold up.
Yeah, I believe it's 23. I think I was right on the first one. But yeah, a very talented kid, top 13 quarterback in the country. We know Georgia produces quarterbacks at an insane rate for high school prospects. Had a cannon for an arm, and not just a cannon for an arm on the football field, but he averaged 91 mile per hour for his fastball in baseball in high school. He was actually a perfect 10 on the perfect grade rankings for baseball. He was projected to actually, if he wanted to, could have took that route and tried to go to the majors and all that stuff and get drafted, blah, blah, blah. Wanted to play football, all in on football. Dad was a football quarterback, like you said, for Penn State in the 80s, was part of that 1982 national championship squad at Penn State. So the feeling was like it was kind of Penn State's battle to lose. And I forget who Penn State ended up taking in 23. It wasn't Drew, because Drew was 22, right? I believe. I don't know. Either way, doesn't matter. So I'm going back and I just I was reading about him a little bit, and he was very, very close with Kirk Soraka, who was the offensive coordinator at the time, recruited him very heavily at Penn State. Just didn't end up working out. He goes to Alabama instead. And at that point, if you get an Alabama offer from Nick Saban, it's like almost impossible for kids from his age group specifically to say no, because that was the Alabama dynasty. Alabama was in the chip almost every year.
Yeah, this is the 2023 class, by the way. They ended up taking 3 quarterbacks that class, which is interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say one of them is Jackson Smolik, who was already in the transfer, or for Penn State. Sorry, Jackson Smolik was the quarterback that Penn State took, who was already in the transfer portal.
They had someone else committed because Smolik was a late addition, because Smolik was the kid that got the Elite 11 invite as a Tulane commit, and that was out of just the fact that they ran out of spots, and he was the most local Power 4 G5 prospect. And they put him in, and he ended up being a Elite 11 finalist. So that's the reason they took him. But going back to Dylan Lonergan, he goes to Bama for 2 years. He works with the coaching staff there. I know one of those years was with, I believe, actually, Bill O'Brien recruited him at Alabama originally.
Oh, that would make sense.
But then Bill O'Brien left for the Patriots, and I don't think he ended up getting a chance to recruit or a chance to coach for him. But the guy who did help assist him as a coach, as a senior analyst at Alabama, his name's John McNulty. You guys might have heard of him before. He is now Rutgers assistant wide receivers coach. He was a senior offensive analyst for Bama for 2 years, the same 2 years that Dylan Lonergan was there. So the Kirk Soraka connection, the John McNulty connection, then he goes to BC. It kind of works out, sort of. Like, he was the starter. His numbers aren't awful. It was just a very, very bad Boston College team. Now they're going to bring him in. Oh, well, I shouldn't say they're going to bring him in. They have him on campus. There's a chance they bring him in to compete with AJ, and we'll see how that ends up working out, because that's going to be if they are able to land him, which so far they're doing pretty well with kids that get on campus and landing them. It will be very, very interesting, just because it's an older quarterback. The guy has Power 4 experience. He played at Alabama, recruited at Alabama, and then you have a kid in AJ Sarace who had a lot of offers, was a 4-star caliber. I shouldn't say was 4-star caliber. He was a 4-star per on 3 back in his high school days. So this would be very, very interesting. And the first quarterback battle in a long time where we kind of don't know what's going to happen, if it happens.
Yeah, no, that's the interesting thing, is that, like, I think we all just figured that AJ would be the kind of starter next year, but I think it makes sense a lot of sense to bring in a capable backup because I don't think anybody like the other quarterbacks in the system right now are Xavier Stern, who is going to be a true freshman, and Sean Ashenfelder.
And Stern broke his collarbone in November, so
yep,
we'll see. Probably won't be playing much.
Yeah, so it's you kind of need somebody else because we talked about this a bunch. Like you look at some of the programs around the country who had quarterback injuries this year, and you're basically screwed if you lose your quarterback. And you in today's day and age, so you got to have two guys, and thankfully it looks like the staff recognizes that, and it looks like they're going to be able to keep AJ and potentially bring on another guy in Dylan Lonergan. Let's talk about kind of what he does well as a player. Dylan Lonergan, I think elite is a strong word, but he has very good accuracy. And accuracy not in the sense that he's able to just complete easy passes, but he throws a very catchable layered ball that he puts in irregularly puts in ideal positions for guys to catch it and run with. Because there's plenty of quarterbacks who can throw an accurate pass and it doesn't give the opportunity for their receiver to do much more than catch it and fall down. That is not Dylan Lonergan. If you watch his tape, which we will in a moment, it's just right in the right place it needs to be, leads his receivers well. He's able to very regularly kind of place a ball like over a linebacker's head and in between safeties. Like he just has really good ball placement. And you can tell from the route concepts that he was throwing at Boston College is going to fit in really well with Kirk's scheme, like a lot of slants, a lot of outbreaking routes. So do you guys want to pop that on, or you have anything else you wanted to hit on first?
So I don't have it currently. Okay. If you have it, then yeah, by all means. But I mean, the accuracy thing makes sense. And in high school, they raved about his cannon of an arm. I feel like you don't really see it in the BC tape as much. But like you don't go from having a cannon to having nothing. So
yeah, we can watch the tape, but that was something I did want to touch on with how he actually plays quarterback. Unless we want to talk during the tape, I don't know.
We could do during the tape, but I realized I don't think we said anything about his eligibility situation. So Dylan has 2 years of eligibility left. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's listed at 6'2", 211 pounds. This past year, he had a 70.8 PFF grade. He had a little bit over 2,000 yards passing for Boston College, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Not super mobile in terms of his raw numbers, but you'll see on his tape, he is able to use his legs efficiently when he needs to. So I'm just going to play it, and we can kind of talk about it as well.
Czynski, touchdown, Boston College.
Down in goal for the Eagles on this opening drive. Lonergan will throw, has a man inside the 5.
About your young quarterback.
Pitt brings pressure on 3rd and 10. Harris makes the catch.
that was a nice one.
Mm-hmm.
Richard makes the catch over
4th and 3, hits his guy on a wheel.
Again, Clemson brings 4. Lonergan over the top as a tight end.
I feel like from what we've watched, he's also able to play in like when he's in rhythm, that's when he's at his best accuracy wise, which I mean it's kind of obvious for quarterbacks, but that's a trait that guy like Ethan Calicman has had as well, where when he is in rhythm, he is hard to stop.
150 yards of total offense on 4 plays for SMU today. They hit him with big plays. Now Lonergan trying to make
He's pretty mobile too.
Mm-hmm. He's very decisive with his mobility. Like here, he just sees the hole and he goes for it.
Second down. Pressure coming.
Oof.
See him there go from 1 to 2 so quickly, seeing that he needed to find his hot receiver. He picked up the blitz really well, knowing he's going to get crunched.
2nd and 8. Play action. Back of the end zone. Touchdown, Jaden Skeet.
You notice how many, he throws his fastball sometimes. He throws his changeup sometimes. He knows when to layer balls in and when he has to kind of rip it in.
And that was one of Biggins, like you've said it time and time again. That was one of Aston's biggest issues. Like he would throw a rocket to a guy like right there.
Mm-hmm.
Get it to Bond. That's a little run there.
Second down and 5. Lonergan rolls right, throws. This is Harris, who's had
On a drive here inside the 15. Throwing. End zone. Touchdown. Jaden Skeet.
Lonergan fakes it. Now he's got McDonald in the end zone if he can get it to him, and he does.
play fake to Richard. Lonergan wants to take the shot. Harris and Bond. It's Bond at the 45. Midfield, Lewis. Lonergan to throw here. With time, taking the shot deep. And an over-the-shoulder catch.
It's a nice deep ball.
Yeah, almost looks effortless.
Fakes the handoff. As a receiver, Bond makes the catch out of bounds.
See if BC can get some points here.
No timeouts for Lonergan. Outstanding pass.
That's the zip I want to see
Just,
more of.
yeah, just over the outstretched arms of the DB.
That's a beautiful one.
In the defensive line as Richard will take a swing pass from Lonergan, and here goes Turbo.
Like that right there, if he doesn't throw an accurate ball there, that is a 4-yard gain. But because he throws it and hits the guy in stride, it's a 50-yard touchdown.
And by the way, Turbo Richard just committed to Indiana. They are on an absolute heater today.
Oh my gosh,
goodness.
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Lonergan to work. Here come the Cardinals. Throw across the middle. Catch is made. And
I'll skip the tight end highlights. They're not going to do that.
it's caught. Coming forward is Reed Harris. Open field for Harris.
Pretty quick. Damn.
Oh, hey, another thing that you can use.
Yeah, and if you
promo
want to
code
use a
for.
promo code for Roback, it's UCO20. Gets you 20% off Roback.
So it's clear to if you kind of have watched Rutgers enough and watched Kirk Soraka's offense enough to kind of figure out why this is a good fit. Not even knowing the kind of ancillary details of the existing relationship between Kirk and Dylan, but how do we feel odds-wise that he's going to end up as a Scarlet Knight, Rich?
I'm pretty confident. I don't think you host him unless you're very confident that you're going to land him. I think there's a good chance. It's just a matter of when. So now that visit thing that we were talking about before, it takes a couple days and this and that. Now, does he wait for that? Does his agent get giddy like some do? And it's just like, hey, like just tell everyone like, here, I'm committed. Like, I do think it ends up happening. I think between him and AJ, though, this, again, I can't stress this enough. This is going to be one of the best quarterback battles we've seen in a long time if it ends up happening. Like, I'm very excited to watch spring ball and not know who the quarterback is for a change. Now, mind you, there was a quarterback battle between Ethan and Gavin. And even Gavin got QB1 reps for, 15 practices in spring? I think the first, no, I shouldn't say that many, 4 or 5. Like, Gavin was getting more reps than Ethan. And it was like, okay, I guess Gavin's the guy. And then all of a sudden it's like, never mind. You could tell pretty quickly, like, which one's the guy. But yeah, I'm very excited to see them. Very excited to see them in scrimmages. If it happens, I do. You hear the way I'm talking about it. I'm pretty confident it happens.
Yeah, I think from both sides, unless something catastrophic happened, you have a lot of the details worked out before you get to campus with being a transfer.
Yeah,
but
I just kind of want to talk about how he actually plays the quarterback position, how he looks throwing the ball. We kind of touched on this a little bit, in the as we were watching his tape, but I feel like he may not have that same pure fastball that Ethan had, which is kind of ironic considering what Richie said about his fastball as an actual pitcher in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that is interesting. Like, he doesn't. I know he can definitely throw with a lot of zip, but he doesn't have as much of that high end zip. Like Ethan had one of the better just frozen rope type throws of many quarterbacks that I saw, in the entirety of college football this year. But Lonergan, where he excels, I think, is those middle tier throws, which are honestly some of the more difficult throws that you can make, where you have to kind of, go in between. You have to layer your throws. And like we talked about, that's something that Ethan sometimes struggled with. Ethan was really good at fitting a ball into a tight window when he was in rhythm and in stride, and then also hitting on the deep ball as well. Lonergan, he has a really strong deep ball that from what we've seen in the tape as well, but also he can really layer those throws. I feel like sometimes his throws do kind of sail a little bit more than I'd like. Sometimes they go a little high, but for the most part, I feel like, I'm not saying that you want less arm strength on some of those over the middle balls, but I feel like it also helps when it's catchable. Like it reaches the guy in stride, and it's not like going 100 miles an hour. So they definitely have different strengths of the way that they throw the ball. But I feel like he could be another type guy where, he may not light the world on fire, but he's going to make a lot of plays in stride. He's going to make a lot of solid throws when he needs to. He's not going to kill you with turnovers. I don't think, at least not that we've seen. I feel like I haven't done as much of a deep dive as I'd like, but I feel like he hasn't committed a huge amount of turnovers. So yeah, I think this would be a really interesting quarterback, and I think he kind of has a similar. I mean, I know AJ Sarace has many more limited reps, but I feel like they kind of look similar in the way that they throw the ball. And also, as a good counterpoint, yes, if he's thrown to KJ Duff, some of those passes that sail will probably be caught anyways.
Or Braden Pegan.
That too at 6'3". Yeah, either one.
Yeah.
Any chance any more of our players hit the portal, Rich? Anything that you're aware of right now?
Nothing definite, but as you know, there's always crazy situations that happen. Daryl Dengoe one was pretty wild. That kind of happened out of nowhere. There's always a chance that maybe one of the quarterbacks, I shouldn't say one of the quarterbacks, maybe Ashenfelder sees that and says, like, maybe I don't want to be here. Maybe I'm not going to be the guy because now I'm going to have to sit behind AJ Sarace, who has 3 more years of eligibility left, or Dylan Lonergan, who has 2 more years of eligibility left. So realistically, like, I don't see Ashenfelder unseating either of them. So if you're just going based on that, he won't play until his senior year, technically. Like, unless he could beat out Sarace or Lonergan. So maybe him. I think there's a ton of offensive linemen. I think there's a lot of them that probably aren't ever going to play. I mean, that's kind of a fact just based on the number they have. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 7 seniors, 3 juniors, 4 sophomores. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 freshmen or redshirt freshmen. So do the numbers there. You're bound to lose one of them. Maybe linebacker. I do think that you got to cut numbers down too, because right now they're at 111, and you're going to add more players. You're probably going to add upwards of 10 players via this transfer portal, and that 111 is counting the 2 that have committed already. So you add at least 8, maybe 9 more, if not even go higher than that number, and you're going to have to cut some weight somewhere. Who, where? I kind of just name positions. There's also a ton of safeties on the roster too, and like some of these guys are in year 3, year 4. Hell, even year 5, and they still haven't played. Now, maybe some of them will be walk-ons that enter, and we've seen that already. I think Ben Rosenblatt entered yesterday. I know Sean Cooper entered the other day. There's like 3 walk-on tight ends that, I mean, probably not going to ever play. They're great practice guys, but you're going to have to cut some weight eventually.
Michael Robinson as well.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about him, too.
I realize we haven't posted the link if anyone wants to join. Dropping that in the chat now. But given we chopped it up earlier today, I don't really think we have a whole lot more to discuss. I did notice one of our resident experts in the chat was alluding to more good news on the horizon. Survivor Powers. He said, expecting another pod today as good news is on the way. We've heard whispers of potentially good news coming from the recruiting front. It sounds like things are going well.
Not just the recruiting front. If you remember, Survivor Powers actually was the one that hinted very heavily that Monday or Tuesday there would be a coaching announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we've also heard, that we've been hinting at, wink, wink, quite a bit.
Survivor Powers, your legacy is on the line over the next 48 hours.
Hold on a sec. All right.
Everyone reach into your sock drawers.
I have to change right here.
Get those socks out, boys. Get the socks out.
Greg Epstein is here.
Hold on, timeout.
What do you got on your chest?
Can the people see this? I can't tell if they can read this.
No, we can't.
I can't even read that.
Closer.
Yeah, your handwriting.
Oh, God.
You can. Come on, you can read it.
This Dante Moore fan club.
Hashtag Dante Moore season. That's right, boys.
When do I?
Dante Moore is going to be the next Jet quarterback that we get to ruin. It's good.
All right.
Thank you.
That's enough of that.
In any event,
Craig Epstein, everybody. He said the word jet. That means you drink at home, and you get the virtual sock.
There's some. It's just crazy.
Watch Dante Moore go back to school at this rate.
I mean, did you see the joke, the meme on social media now? It's like Dante Moore taking a selfie, and everyone puts like the caption now, and it's like, when you're 20 years old and the Jets come calling, and you say, when they call you, you say no, you go back to college.
Yeah, you let that call go to voicemail.
Don't do it.
Please go find a sock sponsor. Oh my god.
Lord.
So much socks.
All right, Craig, you got one more chance. You got anything meaningful to say here, kid?
No, I was just going to ask. I know you guys have been talking about Lonergan and AJ, and I think a lot of the thought is it's kind of curious that AJ, a guy who's been sitting now for basically waiting his turn for what 2 years now, that obviously he's going to have a quarterback competition, which I don't for 2 years now. Yeah, I don't mind a quarterback competition, but the thought of a guy potentially. I mean, if Lonergan beats him out, then that's going to be a third year or he's just going to transfer. I mean, but that could potentially, that almost to me kind of sets a little bit of a bad precedent that a quarterback for the future, a quarterback could come in and hear, hey, we're going to let you sit for a little bit and try and develop you. That maybe they might think to themselves, look at what happened to potentially what happened to AJ. Could that, I guess my question is, could that potentially set kind of a negative little precedent there?
You go first because I have my little speech.
I don't think so because, I mean, ultimately, I think everybody wants to play somewhere where the best players play. Like, I think everyone appreciates that honesty, even if it's, ultimately at your benefit sometimes and against you others. I also think nobody should want to play somewhere if they're in the Big Ten or in the SEC where competition comes in and they are opposed to it or they're immediately kind of getting defensive about it. So I don't know. I mean, sentimentally, I would love for AJ to win the job, but if if they bring someone in to compete with him and he's the better quarterback, then let the best man win.
I think in this case in particular, probably helps as well that AJ Serace comes from a football coaching family. His dad is currently a head coach in Division I. So I think that probably helps in that case where, at least in this particular instance, I don't think it's going to, negatively impact it because, I mean, I feel like, he more than most players or maybe any player on the roster can understand, the challenges of roster building and having to beat out competition and things like that.
AJ is winning this job. Without a doubt in my mind. I am very confident. I am very confident in AJ. I know Dylan Lonergan has some nice tools. I think he was a highly ranked recruit. So was AJ. Like, people forget AJ was the top 220 recruit in the country for round 3. He was number 3 in the state of New Jersey. He's been waiting and waiting. He has all the arm talent in the world. It's 3 years under Kirk Ciarrocca's offense now. I am extremely confident that AJ wins this. I do think it will be an interesting competition to see. But I do think AJ's been waiting his turn. I think he's ready to go now. He had a little bit of an injury before he got the Rutgers his freshman year, and it kind of stunted a little bit of development because he can't do much with that injury. But I'm eerily confident that AJ is going to walk out of this one with the QB1 job. Like, I love everything he does. I know the staff is very high on him. They've been high on him for a while, but it would be malpractice to not go into this season with a true backup quarterback. You are one injury, one play away from Sean Ashenfelder, who we've seen, and I've seen glimpses of, I shouldn't say glimpses. I've had that, what's that war meme, like that little throwback meme where you're just remembering like PTSD type stuff. And I'm starting to watch and I'm like, oh my God, it's Gavin. It's all over. Right. And again, Sean Ashenfelder, like, this is a kid that had 52% accuracy in high school as a senior.
Yeah.
Like, it's very concerning. Now, I know his team wasn't that good, but you can only blame the team for so much.
Yeah.
So they are one play away from that happening. So I do think you have to get some kind of assurance. I do think Dylan Lonergan is probably the perfect type of insurance because it's a high caliber kid, high potential kid, but so is AJ. I really think AJ has been busting his ass to be this damn good quarterback. And I really am very confident after seeing him in practice, seeing him in scrimmages, and seeing little throws here and there in games. Mind you, against shittier competition because it's late game. It's against nobodies. It's against third stringers. But there's just so many throws this year. Like that Michael Thomas throw we keep forgetting. The Dino Calic-Manis throw. Like, he has a couple good throws, and he's only had a couple snaps so far. Wait till he gets more. Now, Dylan has more experience, but how much does that experience really matter when it was on a pretty bad team and kind of they just let him walk, basically?
I guess I'll just play a little bit of devil's advocate for the other side then. If Dylan comes here and loses the starting job to AJ, then what is stopping him from potentially transferring somewhere where he'll basically be guaranteed the starting job?
The portal window.
Yeah, there's no spring portal window anymore, so he's
fair,
stuck.
fair.
If he were to commit, he'd be stuck.
Yeah, that's true.
I know people are saying in the chat, why would he settle for QB2? I don't think he's settling. I don't think there's any other Power 4 school that would give him an opportunity to start at this moment. Is there one out there? I'm sure you could probably go find maybe one and argue it. But Power 4 jobs are hard to come by. And if you want to be a Power 4 quarterback and you're very adamant you are a Power 4 quarterback, which a lot of these highly ranked recruits think they are, this is probably one of the better options for him. So it makes a lot of sense.
Especially Power 2 as well.
Yeah, and the familiarity too. Like, it's you're going to an OC that you've been talking to forever. You're going to work with he's not with the quarterbacks technically, but he'll help out with the quarterbacks, and John McNulty, who knows him very well from his time in Alabama. So there are connections there. It makes a lot of sense for him to do this if you want to try to be a Power 4 quarterback. But I really do think that AJ is going to end up winning this when it's all said and done.
What percentage would you put it at?
65%.
Okay.
I do think there's a chance Dylan walks in, and when he gets protection, maybe he's a little bit better. But I would love AJ's tools. I think he's been waiting for so long. I think he's very, very talented, and his accuracy is insane.
Now, of course, there is always the possibility that, even though we seem very confident, we've heard that they are also, Rutgers is also very confident. Should something happen that, this falls through for whatever reason, I'm not saying it will, but if it does, on the possibility, would they try to pivot to another quarterback, or would they just roll with would they just roll with what they got?
I think it's back to that malpractice thing I was saying before. You need somebody behind him. You cannot go into a season with Sean Ashenfelder, who has not played a single snap, or maybe he played handoff snaps against like Norfolk State in the fourth quarter. I don't remember, to be honest, but I've seen Sean Ashenfelder in practice, and he just doesn't impress me all that much. Now, like, even when they took him, like I think we questioned it on this podcast specifically. We were like, all right, 52%, played a lot of baseball, didn't really play that much football as a junior, and I think he was not a backup, but he was like rotating reps, like the Evan Simon, Gavin Wimsatt situation a couple years ago. As a junior, that's your year where you're supposed to shine, and he hit like 52%. Then you go back to his senior, and it was like 53%, 54% completion. And it's like, I just can't trust the fact that can, God forbid something happens, knock on wood, nothing does to AJ. That kid's going out there, and it's like season down the drain already.
Another thing that we're forgetting is that a lot of these kids, rightfully so, have just this irrational level of confidence in themselves, which you kind of need to get to this level of athleticism, or to get to this level of being an athlete. Like, you've had to bet on yourself time and time again your whole athletic career, and those bets have paid off for you. So they truly believe in themselves and their abilities. So like, because that's the kind of player you want, right? You don't want somebody who's scared of competition. So if Dylan Lonergan wants to come in and knowing that there's a guy who is kind of not the entrenched, he's a guy who the program expects to start, and you're coming in to compete with him. Like, if that doesn't scare you away, that's the kind of competitor, in my opinion, you want in your program.
Yeah.
But
I love the idea of it. Like, it makes.
Oh yeah. I'm fully for the idea. I'm just putting it out there. Like, if something were to happen, because this is the transfer portal and weird things happen, where would they go next? But yeah, I mean, if they can lock it in, I think this would be a very, very fascinating quarterback battle, and it's good for us too, because quarterback battles means content.
If it does end up happening, he does go elsewhere, I do think it will be a lot lower level kid, or lower prestige, I guess, because like we take recruiting rankings as gospel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there would be any other like Power 4 starters on the open market that would be willing to come to Rutgers. I think this would be an interesting case. Kind of not dissimilar to Ethan Kaliak in his situation 2 years ago when he entered the portal from Minnesota.
Listen, if the kid wins it, I mean, great. Like that means he's better than AJ, who I just raved about. So
Exactly. Either way, it seems like there's a high likelihood that Rutgers has a very solid quarterback.
But here's the real question: does Dylan have the Bill O'Brien stamp of approval?
I mean, he started how many games? 10, 9.
But also, Rutgers plays Boston College next year. I feel like we forgot to mention that. So that would be really interesting.
They're just taking them just so they can learn the playbook and all that. That's the real reason. Yeah.
That's 4D chess right there.
Schiano and his dadgum competitive advantage.
If that does happen, and I think it's probably more likely than not that Lonergan ends up at Rutgers at this point. I was really looking forward to the early September trip up to Boston, a half-empty stadium, being able to just kind of like chill out. But that environment might be pretty raucous with their former quarterback returning to town. Like, that might be a pretty full stadium, actually.
Yeah, when they're not 2-10, yeah, they should have fans in the seats.
Ryan, who's treating Boston College like Ohio State here? Come on.
I don't think anyone said
they're
that.
They're a 2-10 ACC team who was a 9.5-point favorite the last time we played them, and we came home with that dub.
I think the only similar thing between Boston College and Ohio State is they have the same record in 2026.
That's true, 0-0, and they also both ended their season with a loss. So
yeah.
Now, I was going to attack Boston College about their quarterback addition, but then again, I saw Chambliss the other day, and I'm like, never mind. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut just for now.
And Saginaw Valley State, I mean, they're not Ferris State level great, but Saginaw Valley State, I feel like it's been a pretty solid D2 program for a while.
See what they can do. I mean, Bill O'Brien's a good coach. At the end of the day, like, I don't think he's a bad coach by any means. I'm not going to say he's a great coach, but like he was the first one to not turn around fully, but like he took over Penn State when they had the worst issues in the country at the time and turned them into a competitive program. He went to Houston. Things didn't really work out all that well, but he did have some good wins there. And like, I know Boston College is weird, but it's year one there. Like, see what he could do next year. But I don't think it'll be, I don't think anyone said they were Ohio State, but it'll be a competitive game for sure.
Jeff Arnold asked, before we wrap up tonight, anything on Justin Eaglin today?
He has multiple visits now scheduled. Now, mind you, when they're on these visits, they're not the ones scheduling those visits. It's the agents doing the legwork there. He will be at Colorado tomorrow. I believe he also has Mississippi State after that, if I recall correctly. I know Rutgers is working to try to get that one done. It's just a matter of we'll have to wait and see how the visit went. But they do want him pretty badly. They want him to be one of their starting corners next year. And he's very talented. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to land Justin Eaglin, even though he's only got 1 year of eligibility. Absolute dog.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think that's it. I think we'll call it there. It's a very quick hour, but I want to thank everybody who's joined us for the second live pod of the day. We'll probably do a lot of these throughout the portal window because just like the nature of the beast. Call
them the Rutgers Fireside Chats.
Yeah, Rutgers Fireside Chats. I love it. We got a late Hail Mary from Lenny to keep us around with the donation. He asked, is the 105 roster limit a hard number or is there flexibility? I thought teams moved some players to PWOs and gave them NIL to pay for their tuition. Rich, you know this situation better than I do, so I'll let you take it.
So whoever was designated a student athlete, which basically means you don't count towards the 105. That was last July, I believe it was, or August. If you're designated that, you do not count towards the 105 limit. So technically, I guess a lot of these walk-ons could stay. So if you do the math, most walk-ons, if not all walk-ons, are probably designated student athletes. Like, for example, Dane Partridge was designated one. And anywhere he goes, which is a big reason why I think he could still end up in the Power 4 as a transfer, because he doesn't count towards your 105 limit, even if he's just a practice player. That is a damn good practice player. So he was designated one at Northern Illinois, goes to Rutgers, doesn't count towards the 105. So if you do the math right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Wait, yeah, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's see. Sorry, I'm taking this bad podcasting.
It's all right. I did plenty of it myself.
9, 10, 11, right? Is that it? 12, 13. Okay, there's more than that. 14, 15. Oh, no, 14. 15, 16. 17 walk-ons on the team right now. So technically, you do the math. You do the minus 17, and they're at 94 right now out of 105. So technically, that kind of does add up with the 105 limit. So I guess you don't technically have to put anyone to the portal anymore.
But that doesn't mean that nobody else will. It's just that there's nobody else you have to force to do it.
Yeah, there's guys on the roster. Like, I'm just going to throw a name out there, and it's not being mean. It's just the fact that I don't think he's ever going to play. Like, Amir Stinetti is in his 6th year with the program or 5th year with the program. If you want to play, you're going to go enter the portal. If you don't want to play, that's fine. If you're content at being at the Big Ten level, you have friends at Rutgers, you don't really want to leave the situation. You love everything about it. You're at a Power 2 school. Some guys just don't want to leave, and they're very content with it. So, like, that's a situation where I could see him staying. I could see him leaving. Either way.
Yep, I could see that as well.
I had a couple last minute little pieces things. We were talking about Ryan Davis and Malachi Davis earlier on. There were some interesting again, as the resident young person here, some interesting Instagram comments that I'll add here. So I don't know. Can you guys see it all right, or should I zoom in?
You have to zoom in. Yeah.
Okay. So this was from when Malachi Davis committed from Rutgers Source on Instagram, who Malachi Davis also collabed with. You see Ryan Davis, a little fingers crossed emoji, and then Malachi Davis waiting on you. So I don't know. We'll see.
Still have a hard time seeing Ryan Davis as a Scarlet Knight for a multitude of factors.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we've gone through a lot of those factors, but it is interesting, like, that these guys are at least, like, talking or whatever.
They were going to visit together, so I mean,
right? Yeah. And then of course there was the comment chain underneath of Rutgers fans trying to get him to commit and all that stuff. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then the last thing, like we talked about with our sponsor FanDuel, about the Rutgers Oregon game tomorrow night. So Jackson Shellstad did not play against Maryland last time out. So, and the line is still at 6.5. So his status for tomorrow night is currently uncertain. So we'll see how that works, but that could definitely throw some things in for a loop if Shellstad doesn't play. And Oregon has already struggled even with him on the floor.
Are we talking first Big Ten win, maybe?
I don't know. Oregon is definitely disappointed. So we'll have to see.
Oregon, the football team doesn't.
Oregon minus 6.5. But you're rooting for Oregon? Oh, you're Dante. Never mind.
Right, yeah.
Dante, commit. Natties are overrated.
Brother.
Oh, that's true.
Sure. Yeah, well, yeah. Also, shout out to Cameron Stewart, who Jacob Infante, who's a big Bears guy, posted about him on Twitter. Got a lot of views. So shout out to Cameron Stewart.
Yeah, the former Scarlet Knight had a really high-level season.
Zinema.
Yeah, we hit 6,000 subs. Love to get that to the 5 digits by the end of 2026. That'll be a stretch goal for the channel. So if you have any Rutgers fans in your life who are not a follower of the channel, get them on. Yeah, exactly. Real one, the ones reading my mind.
Should we do something if we get to 10K?
Did we get to 10K?
We'll live stream.
We'll do a lot of different things if we get to 10K.
Yeah, Craig, have you ever seen what's that movie?
We will beat Craig with a sock.
Yeah, he'll get tied down to a bed.
Press that subscribe button if you.
We'll all beat him with a sock with a bar soap inside of it.
Hey, listen, if it gets us to 10K, I'll take one for the team.
All right, Craig is, as you've all heard, is consenting to the idea of getting beaten with socks filled with bars of soap.
We have
I prefer not the bars of soap. Can we just leave it to socks?
No.
Well, I think we've already agreed to terms here, so I'm going to say
this is legally binding podcast.
Yeah.
Jeez.
What movie are you going to mention though, Mike? I'm curious.
It's Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, okay, that's what I was thinking.
I wanted to say Clockwork Orange, but that's a different Stanley Kubrick movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, for reals this time, guys. Thanks for joining, guys and girls. We are going to do the drawing soon. It's just
madness.
There's been just so much going on that we haven't had the opportunity to, but we haven't forgotten you. I just don't want you guys to think you did all those reviews for nothing. But me, Richie, and Craig will call it for the evening. For the three of us, thanks for listening. This has been another edition. You have one more thing, Rich?
Yeah, and Alec, you forgot.
And Alec, Jesus.
Yeah, he's kind of important.
You said three of us. There were 4 boxes.
It's too late. I've been
Private
grinding too hard
pile.
today. I've been on my grind set too hard.
Joey Donut private pile.
Wait, what? Ah, Jesus.
God.
Yeah, well, as long as I don't have the same ending as Private Pile, that's always
All right.
Well, that's up to you.
that's
Anyways,
always-
all right. We're going way too off the rails.
We're out of here. Thanks for coming. We'll see you guys next time, probably tomorrow. But for me, for Alec, for Richie, for Craig,
There you go.
we're out. Bye.